I cheated on my husband. He's got some concerning conditions.
I left my husband 5 months ago and I regret it.
I cheated on my man and he found out.
Me getting cheated on by my husband was not fair.
What happens when a marriage becomes emotionally and physically distant for years? Can someone be shocked by cheating after refusing intimacy for a decade, and is divorce really the answer? Stay with us until the end, because this story raises some uncomfortable questions about marriage, resentment, and responsibility.
Intimacy with my husband. I actually dreaded it. I would literally count the days in my head where 3 days kind of felt like a number that kind of felt like too long, so I should probably just go ahead and do it. But every single night we would get in bed and I would lay there with anxiety because I would feel like he probably wanted it. But even throughout the day, I hated him touching me. Every kiss, every cuddle, every back rub, it would give me the slight anxiety because I felt like it came with an expectation. One time he suggested we did one of those 30-day intimacy challenges and I cried. Another time he bought those like spicy couples card and I literally had a full-blown panic attack. I remember Googling therapists to try and figure out why I felt this way. I remember scheduling doctor's appointments when why my libido was so low. I genuinely thought something was wrong with me. I thought maybe it was my hormones, maybe my drive was just broken, maybe I was just one of those women who just did not enjoy intimacy at all. I remember even saying to myself, if I went my whole entire life never having intimacy, I would be okay with it.
Imagine being married for years while physical affection slowly disappears. According to the woman's account, she didn't allow her husband to touch her for 10 years, yet she was furious when he eventually cheated and the marriage ended.
My husband is divorcing me because I cheated. Can I get half of what he owns without getting also the kids? I want to have fun with the money, and I think the kids would take too much of my time, bro.
So last night I approached my soon-to-be ex-husband and I asked him straight up, so it seems like you've wanted this divorce for a long time. And it seems like you purposefully sabotaged the end of our relationship so that I would break up with you. So in a moment where you saw that I was already having a hard time because we weren't in a good place, and I'm really stressed with work and I have a lot of stuff going on with just being a mom and being a full-time fitness instructor teaching 20 classes a week, why didn't you just tell me that you wanted a divorce? Why couldn't you just say it up front? And you know what he said? He said, I don't know, I was just scared. You were scared. Okay. So in a moment where I was already having a hard time, you chose to make my life harder and do something like talk to other women and let me find it and not be apologetic when you do and say, yeah, and I'm probably going to keep doing it so that I would break up with you in a moment where I was already struggling. You chose to make my life harder. You know what? I'll never forget that. And I'll never forgive you for that. And you're a coward. And he said, yeah, I guess I am. Because you were too afraid to just come to me and say, Taylor, this isn't working for me. I want a divorce. You had to sabotage and do things to where I would leave you and put me in a mental fuck and make me feel devalued and insecure and terrible about myself so that I would break up with you because you were too afraid to do it. Awesome.
Now here's the difficult question. Does being unhappy or neglected justify cheating? Absolutely not. If someone is unhappy in a marriage, the healthier choices are communication, counseling, separation, or divorce, not secretly breaking the commitment.
So when my husband found out that I had been cheating, I really honestly felt like he wouldn't care. He didn't care about trying to save our marriage previously, beforehand. And so I honestly thought that we would just split and there'd be no hard feelings and we'd co-parent with our daughter and everything would be good. And that's not quite the way it worked out.
Hi guys, welcome back to another Q&A session or a what would you do session. Listen, hi Sharifa. I cheated on my man and he found out. It was a one-time thing and I deeply regret it. When he asked me about it, I lied. But he gathered all evidence in one day and he broke up with me. How do I apologize to him, Sharifa? How do I earn his trust back? And most importantly, how do I get him to at least speak to me again? We don't live together, but he has blocked all of my calls. On WhatsApp, he only posts disappointed and broken-hearted quotes. He has ignored all of my messages, all of my calls. Please advise me on what to do because I am dying inside. I love him so much. Ladies, today is not a guy who has cheated, it's a lady. Before we continue though, I want to know, can we all agree that it's harder for men to forgive women for cheating? I wonder why. Could it be because it wounds their masculinity? Also, anyway, let's talk more in the comment section. But before I go, can a relationship recover from an affair? What would you do?
But the story also raises another question. What happens when one partner completely withdraws from the relationship while expecting the other person to remain committed indefinitely?
I left my husband 5 months ago and I regret it. No, you're not supposed to say that. I know I'm supposed to be in my living my best life, hoe era, whatever, but like, no. These last 5 months have broken my spirit. They have been the hardest of my life. These last 5 months have required so much work, so much discipline to get back to myself. But it's supposed to suck. I talked to my friend last night about this on the phone and he really put it in perspective for me. Said the year you get a divorce was going to suck regardless. I question my decisions constantly. No matter what choice I made, I would have been miserable regardless. Life is not supposed to be happy and perfect all the time. Most growth comes from the times when we are having to do the work, having to sit in our misery, having to sit in the quiet. And that is exactly what I'm doing. 31 and I feel like I'm 18 again trying to navigate the world. Because you know what I regret more than leaving my husband? It having to get to that point anyway. I regret marrying the wrong person in the first place and not listening to my intuition. From my mistakes. So that you can learn from me being a dumbass. Because I feel dumb all the time. Of course, it's normal to have regret. I regret so many things in my life, but I can't let it ruin my life either. Never learn from things going right. We learn from them going wrong, and I'm holding on to that. I regret that I had to get to that point. I didn't want it to, but it happened, and we move on.
Marriage isn't simply about sharing a house or having the same last name. Emotional connection, affection, communication, respect, and intimacy can all matter. When one or more of those disappear for years, resentment can build on both sides.
I cheated on my husband and he's willing to forgive me, but he's got some concerning conditions. So I was the one who actually cheated on my husband, and it was basically because I was in a SCX addiction and I also had a corn addiction. I'm not trying to justify anything, I'm just explaining why that happened. What's made the situation more complex and difficult, and ultimately the reason why my husband wanted to separate, was because my affair, my cheating, involved elements of kink and degradation. A month after we separated and we talked about divorce and everything, we started developing a sexual relationship. It was very surprising to me when he suggested this, because when he found out about my cheating, he told me how disgusted he was with me and that he would never want to touch me again. But now after a month of separation, he all of a sudden wants to be with me again, so it's confusing. So yeah, it's been strictly sexual up until now, because the other day he asked me out on a coffee date. At least I thought it was a date. When we got back to my place, I thought it was just going to be more of the same, just sexual. But no, he actually sat me down and he talked to me about a possible reconciliation. It took me so off guard that I almost cried. I immediately said yes, because that's all I ever wanted. We proceeded to have a long discussion about a lot of things, but primarily his conditions to reconciling. Firstly, he told me that in order for him to feel sexually secured with me, he needs to know all about my kinks, and he needs to do all of them with me. The second condition is that he wants to hear about my affair in extreme detail. He doesn't want me to leave out anything. Obviously, I'm not opposed to this. I'd probably want the exact same thing if it was the other way around. Thirdly, and this is the really big one, he now wants to open our relationship. He explained it by saying that he wants a safety net. He said he doesn't trust me and that he can't bear the thought of being humiliated again by my cheating, especially because his entire family knows and is very against us reconciling. So I suppose that in the end, he wants to keep other relationships on the side as insurance. And it makes no sense for me to be in an open relationship, because I'm 100% committed to getting out of my SCX addiction. So if our relationship is open, then it will be one-sided on his end. I'm not entirely convinced too that he's not just doing this to punish me in a sick way. He did tell me that he was willing to close the relationship back up if I was willing to complete the 12-step SAA program. So yeah, those are the conditions for us to reconcile. He is definitely in a mindset of take it or leave it. These are my conditions. So I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts? Should I agree to his conditions?
At the same time, nobody should feel entitled to physical intimacy. Every person has the right to decide what happens to their body, even inside a marriage. But if partners have fundamentally different needs, those differences need to be confronted honestly rather than ignored for years.
Okay, I know I don't have to explain myself here, but because of the last video, I wanted to share that yes, I did leave my marriage of 10 years. I filed for divorce, but that was because there was lying, manipulation, cheating consistently. Even when caught, it kept happening. And if you think about it, the way things were set up, it's oftentimes the abused person that leaves the marriage, not the abuser. Because if you think about it, they got everything they want. You know, he had me at home, and then he would have other women wherever he went, and he wouldn't have his location on, nothing like that. Just a free man, but still married, you know? So that's why I had to leave, because I was seeing the actual physical toll it was having on my body and my spirit. I was empty, and I did not want my children to view this as a healthy form of love, because it wasn't.
Did you know that when somebody has an affair or cheats and the betrayed finds out, they often suffer from something called post-infidelity stress disorder, which is linked to being like a PTSD. You see, cheating doesn't just affect them emotionally. It can physically manifest and change their brain and the way that their brain functions and handles the stress and the anxiety of it all, leaving them to have basically post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. They call it post-infidelity stress disorder, although it's basically PTSD. Now, over 90% of betrayed who found out reported having these symptoms. Over 90%. So the question is cheating a form of abuse? Is having an affair a form of abuse? Yes, if it causes mental, emotional distress, so much so that you have a condition that you have to go to therapy to learn how to, or retrain your brain how to fire and function properly, it absolutely is a form of abuse. And listen, this is coming from the person who did the bull crap. This is coming from the person who was the betrayer. I was the wayward. But understanding now what I know, I want as many people to get this and understand this. Your actions have consequences that are dire and can hurt everyone, including kids report having this also. It's not worth it. Having to go through such hardships because of selfish wants, needs, feelings, emotions, those aren't worth it, because that fades. All of that fades. That soulmate feeling you have, that goes away. Even if you leave to be with them, it fades. But what doesn't are the consequences of your actions and behaviors. Think 4, 5, 6 times before you start that flirting with your coworker. Think 8, 9, 10 times before you take it to the next level. Don't do it. You're going to hurt everyone around you, period.
That's where this situation becomes complicated. Her decision to refuse intimacy may have had reasons we don't know about, and his decision to cheat was still his responsibility. There may be far more to the marriage than what a viral story reveals.
Me getting cheated on by my husband was not fair. I don't care what anybody says. Every day, I literally in my head, I look at myself and like I'm having to rebuild my whole life, and I'm like, this isn't fair. Like, I did not deserve this in the least bit. I was a great wife, I did my part, and I'm getting hit so freaking hard. And not just that, it's like when it rains, it freaking pours, but holy crap, really? Like every day, why does nobody talk about when your spouse decides to be bad, that every day you wake up, when you make the decision to finally leave, that you have to peel yourself up off the floor every day? Why am I having to peel myself up off the floor? Like, he's the one that cheated and violated our covenant. Why am I having to do this? You know, I know what it is. It's because in my head, I had this like idea image, and it didn't go the way I wanted it to. And so, I don't want to be with him anyways, because yeah, I'm not going to talk bad, but it's just a really weird feeling that like you get home, like I am seeing somebody in the midst of a divorce and he's amazing, like amazing. But when you get by yourself, because I don't live with him, when you get by yourself, the silence is so loud. Like all the pain, That's why I understand why people move when they get divorced. I have not moved yet, but I plan to, because I don't need to be in this environment. It's way too familiar. But it's just crazy that every day I'm the one who didn't cheat, but I have to pill myself up off the floor. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't started work yet because I'm just like, you can make it through today. You can make it through today. Cried 3 times already this morning because something just feels weird on the inside when you get alone. How come nobody talks about this?
But earlier this year, I told my husband I wanted a divorce.
Do you guys want to know why she says she wants a divorce? She says she wants a divorce because she's been married to this man for almost 10 years and feels like she doesn't have the love that she wants in her relationship. Mind you, she's been married to this man for almost 10 years, has nothing negative to say, but has also had 3 kids with this individual, and is 32 years old saying, I'm not the person that I want to be, damn near. You're projecting the fact that you don't know how to make yourself happy outside of your relationship. You're projecting the fact that you think you're losing your identity in this relationship because you aren't willing to do the work to figure yourself out in your relationship, and you think you need to explore to figure that out instead of working with the person you've built a life with for the past 10 years and building a journey like that. But you want to go outside to figure yourself out at your grown age.
The bigger lesson isn't simply men cheat or women withhold. It's that unresolved problems can become enormous when couples stop communicating.
I cheated on my husband and was honest with him when the DNA test came back that he was not the father of our child.
Damn.
We were planning to work things out, but I would have to give up the baby for adoption.
Okay.
I didn't think that it was right that he was making me choose between him and my child. He says he's going to divorce me if I keep the baby, but our marriage vows are for better or for worse. What kind of low-life husband would leave his wife to be a single mother if she doesn't want to give up her child for adoption? All I've been was a good woman to that man. I am so confused.
Listen, sometimes when I be hearing these stories, I be thinking people be lying. They just be making up stuff because this don't make no type of sense. Fellas, y'all gotta have more self-respect, man. I'm sorry. Just put it like that. Y'all gotta have more self-respect. There ain't no way that I'm keeping any woman around that done cheated on me and had a kid. I don't care if she put the kid up for adoption, bro. I can't trust you. I can't trust you no more. With the kid, without the kid, I can't trust you. And then for her to sit here and say he's being unfair and that she's been a good woman, how you been a good woman and you cheated? How is that being a good woman? Man, y'all gotta have more self-respect, bro. Y'all got to, bro. There ain't no way a woman gonna sit here and cheat on me and then turn around and talk about how I'm being selfish and I'll go on now.
If you no longer feel connected to your spouse, pretending everything is fine rarely fixes the problem. Honest conversations, professional counseling, or an amicable separation can be far healthier than allowing resentment to grow year after year.
Ladies, I'm bored. Tell me that one line he gave you that made you in that moment decide you were gonna leave. It was so awful for me when you were going through treatment for cancer, as I was looking after you and I didn't get anything back from you in return. Sorry, mate, I was trying not to die. Obviously, we're no longer together, and good for you, Joe. I could kill you in your sleep so fast you'd never know you were dying. He's currently in prison, where he should be, because that's concerning. Not a line, but my ex and I had friends over one night. I got a new betta fish and I was so excited to show everyone. He was so jealous over the fish that in front of everyone, he took the entire tank and smashed it on the concrete and killed my fish. I've never heard of someone being jealous of a fish. What the fuck? He left me crying on the couch after a miscarriage because he had to do a quick workout with a friend. You didn't have to do that workout, sir. You're what? My friend passed away, and the day of the viewing, I had to get off work early, and when I came home to change and head out, he asked while laying in bed, "Oh, did you want me to go?" He had been off work for 3 hours, and I had to drive there and home by myself while hysterically crying. That was when it fell apart, because, what do you mean, do you want me to go? Yes, support me, what the fuck? While actively miscarrying, he said, "If you don't give it to me, I'll find it elsewhere." Excuse me? I laid there limp, and when I stood up, my baby fell out. Yeah, I left him. What the fuck? No. Told me the reason he started staying out all night, getting drunk, and avoiding me was because I asked him to help out with the kids in the house. Okay, so the adult responsibilities that you also signed up for, like having kids and having a family? Crazy concept. Told him my gyno had scheduled an ultrasound to see whether I had ovarian cancer. He sighed and said, "Great, if you got cancer, it'll be expensive. Guess I can't buy that new truck I wanted." Joke was on him. It wasn't cancer, but the divorce was even more expensive. Good for you, girl. I am so glad. I'm so glad. It wasn't him. It was my 5-year-old saying, "I'm sorry that daddy makes you cry." That was the end for me. You know what? Yeah, I'm glad that you listen to your child because they notice. They feel it. I asked him what he would do if a man treated our daughter the way he treated me, and he said, "If she's dumb enough to stay, what am I going to do?" You know what? I'm glad that you left. I hope that you left, but I feel like you did, because that's ridiculous. When he asked my OB at the 12-week appointment, when will she have more energy so she can keep up with the chores better, the doctor turned beet red and said, about 18 to 25 years, as he should, because what the fuck, who says that to the doctor?
So what do you think? Does 10 years without intimacy signal that a marriage had already broken down emotionally, or does that change nothing about the responsibility for cheating? Tell us your opinion in the comments, and stay with us for more discussions about the complicated realities of modern relationships.
Men stopped playing by the rules, and now everyone's freaking out. Let's break down why silence has become the loudest move.